At Ujie's insistence, Nariko was facing the surprisingly comforting reality that she was truly the daughter of the blacksmith Matsunaga, but Masako was truly her mother also. The rumors of an illegitimate imperial child were true, and she was it. But that placed her half-sister Nariko in great danger, for she was now most likely the real heir to the imperial throne, and the one behind the throne, Masako, had hidden her away in Kyoto. While Nariko and crew raced back to ensure her safety, a faithful retainer was already on hand to help.
Who's there? Kogo? Please, I need more time.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yoshio, is it you?
Nagiko, you must try to be imprisoned on a lower floor next time. Quite the climb, but worth it to see you alive.
You shouldn't be here.
I gathered, hence midnight exercise. What is Masako doing? No, what is this?
Nothing, Yoshio. Please, you can't stay.
Do you think I don't know what this is?
These silks, this blade.
Don't you dare, Nagiko. Or are they for her?
No.
Then what are you doing? Come here.
No, please. You have to leave me.
Leave you to kill yourself?
I have to. Masako is going to use me against Nariko.
You mean because you're her child? She can't do anything. Nariko is the daughter of the Emperor. She is untouchable.
No, Yoshio. She isn't. That's me.
No. You can't really think that.
Masako thinks it. She would know. She says she was betrayed by Nariko's real father, and things got messed up.
Heavens. But that's no excuse. Give me that. I'm taking all this with me.
Yoshio, please.
You think I'll let you die because of Masako?
If I am alive, Nariko is in danger. Everything is in danger. Without me, Masako cannot finish her plan.
She won't finish it, I promise. I promise it to you. Anything I must do will be done, but at the end of this, every one of us will be alive. Otherwise, what's it all for? We suffer through war so that we can see a better future. What use is reaching that future without you?
Yoshio.
Sorry, I speak too loudly. I had best disappear before someone investigates. But that is the sum of it anyway. No need to say any more. I trust that I will see you here again when I visit next, and that Nariko will enjoy the same privilege upon her return.
Yes.
Good. And don't worry about this family thing. Your sister will know what to do, but until then, she's counting on you. So, just think about Nagiko.
You should go.
Yes, I should, shouldn't I? Easy to forget. Stay safe, please. Goodbye. Hello and welcome back to Nariko's Treasure. So Nariko and her party have now sailed out from Kagoshima in Kyushu all the way back to the Kunai region, landing on the end of the peninsula here so that we can basically sneak into the territory without being seen and without encountering any hostile navies on the way. The only problem is that this backwater seems to be completely infested with rebels. Good news though, you can see all of our lords decide they like us a bit more. Perhaps they are catching wind of Nariko's return and are glad for it, having seen what happens when she is away. Anyway, so we're going to sneak through this territory as I said, and there's a local Hojo officer, but he doesn't have many troops, and we can probably guess why, since his territory is infested with hundreds of rebel troops. I think the Hojo are probably having trouble actually holding down this territory they stole from us. So anyway, I'm going to have to now zigzag up this pass and try and get back towards Kyoto, on the way spotting the rebel base. That explains the massive rebel presence here. It's one of these rebel bases where it's probably a good idea to actually just leave it, because as long as the rebels are operating down here, away from the cities and away from the main roads, they're actually going to be causing pretty much no trouble at all, because they can't really hit villager parties or caravans, so that's all fine with me. Now as we advance north, we see our allied forces are on the warpath against the Hojo. They're attacking a nearby village, and there's absolutely loads of armies all swarming around Nara. Now this wasn't exactly how we wanted to do this war. We planned to just not attack the Hojo's main cities, particularly Nara and Sakai, so that we could try and get them back through a defection or get them to surrender them to us. But now it looks like we're going to be expending extreme numbers of forces to take this extremely heavily garrisoned city, which, as you may remember, is garrisoned with mostly our own troops. But here is the distraction we need to avoid that problem. The Tokugawa clan suddenly declares war on us. I guess we should have seen this coming, because the Tokugawa have been being very suspicious in recent times. Our forces do indeed break that siege of Nara as hoped, so that is something. They are all now going to rush off to take up positions for this new war that's just broke out, no doubt, but we're probably going to have to think about doing the same kind of thing, because as we noted last time, the Tokugawa have managed to get via defections key castles in and around our territory that now allows them to surround the region of the capital, while we surround their main core with territories that aren't particularly well fortified and with officers that aren't particularly loyal. So they have a very good strategic position. They even have a castle up here in the old Uesugi territory somehow. So our domain is completely fractured right now, and so many places are going to be vulnerable to attack. Plus we're still at war with the Hojo and have to contend with that at the same time. Very nasty, but all that said, we do have an even higher priority to attend to. We'll leave our forces to go off and get that war started. We're going to Kyoto because we've got some important politics to sort out.
Secure those doors, and check behind the screens quickly. Stay right where you are, Mother. Nariko, Nariko, what is the meaning of this? Kneel. You get out of here. Wait, Nagiko, is that you? Yes, Your Majesty. Welcome back. Sorry, you look different. In fact, you look exactly as you should for an Imperial child. What? You... Nariko, I don't know what you've heard, but really... I know everything, so keep it quiet.
Nariko, the palace is secured.
You must address her as Your Majesty, Ito. He does what I want him to do, and I told you to be quiet. Koj, gather my Hatamoto and prepare to march. And Nagiko, I understand that I cannot order you about anymore, but would you help me tie this woman up? Of course, Your Majesty. You cannot be serious. You really cannot be... Nariko, it's me! What are you doing? Something you've had a long time coming. My own daughters. You will never live down this shame. We'll see, Mother. I might even let you go. But first we're going to talk. Well, then. You have discovered the truth indeed. Sorry, Your Majesty. I really didn't know anything for sure. And I didn't want to know. I understand entirely. So, Mother, I take it your plan was to have me killed? What? No! Why would I do that? To hide your disgrace and to leave Nagiko alone but for you, so that you could keep doing what you're doing 10 times harder. You have got some dark fantasies in your head, darling. Fantasies? You think I didn't notice all the assassins you sent after me? They're all dead, by the way. This is madness. You can't just accuse me of these things. I can, for despite all your efforts, I am still the Empress. No one will believe you if I make these accusations official. So why don't you try to convince me not to do that? Can you be convinced to see reason? I would never do that, Nariko. Who do you think I am? I think you're exactly what people say you are. People are fools. That is why we rule them. Look, Nariko, you must see that even if I was so heartless as to throw you away, it would be the end of the Imperial dream. You are the beacon of hope for this land, but this family also. You wish to say that you would not kill me because you still need me. That's not the reason, but I'm saying that even if I considered it, then the situation would demand otherwise. I have sent men out to do work on your behalf, Kikuchi, Asakura, and others, but it was for you. It was for the best, and you weren't exactly keen to do it yourself. Well, someone wants me dead. Someone killed most of my Onobushi and nearly me on several occasions in the last few weeks. What am I to make of that? The land is not yet unified. You know what this Tokugawa clan is up to. Mori is being drawn to their side. Shimazu and Date are fearful. You are a rich ransom. There are countless reasons a man might wish to harm you. We'll see, I suppose. Mother, I am not going to kill you today. You were even considering it. What has happened to my poor child? But you are going to be silent from now on. You are under arrest henceforth. You will be guarded, you will not hold courts as regent, you will not take imperial monies, and you will not do a single thing without my order. If that is what I must endure to prove myself, then I will do it gladly. But if you intend to march off again, Kyoto cannot be left without a master. No problem. Nagiko's imperial blood, and she knows most of the lords already. Let her do it. That is most inappropriate. Earn your right to comment on what is appropriate, and we'll review the arrangement. Expect new staff by tomorrow. Behave yourself, and when I have put down these rebels against the imperial court, we shall speak again. Nariko, you are fierce. That is good, very good. I will await your return in reflection of all that has happened. I know you will apologize to me by the end of all this.
With that sorted out, and with Yoshio and Nagiko left behind to oversee the capital, we're going to have to move out to start taking part in this war. Targets all over the place from Tokugawa and Hojo. First I'm coming to check Ishiyama Fortress. It would be nice to take it, but it did have a decent amount of troops inside, more of them scurrying away as we get close. I'm moving out with only my Onobushi and cavalry right now. My plan is to just link up with allied officers and help them, rather than initiating battles myself right now, just to see how that goes. Had to sell Kikuchi back to the Hojo for a very large amount actually. They seem to value him quite highly, probably because he has such key territory. So we come down into the Oda territory, and as expected there are Tokugawa invading forces all over the place going in all directions, but they're not working together all that much, which is quite nice. We spot here Lord Kakeda, one of our own former commanders, so that's a shame to have seen him on the enemy side. That does explain how some of our territory seems to be in Tokugawa hands already. We will have to go and take him down basically. Our first move was to move north to Komaki Castle, where the Tokugawa had begun a siege led by Lord Kakega, and we can now help out Lord Rikaku, who came to relieve the siege in a battle here by adding our numbers to his, giving us a decent advantage in this fight. So we'll just form up, ready to battle. Of course, Rikaku going to be doing his own thing, and we're going to try and get onto the flank to support. A lot of the enemy seem to come for us exclusively though, including their powerful cavalry charge at the start. So we'll take the brunt of that, but we'll also be able to very quickly bring it down. Our Onobushi at the front line, not particularly strong against this, but some of them have Naginatas, as we can see there, which are pretty decent at cutting men off their horses. And we take down Kakeda right at the start there as well, which will destroy the enemy's formation and cause them to just charge all over the place. So we're going to do the same thing, really. We'll just move forwards and start engaging them. I sent my cavalry in to just annihilate their skirmishers who were off on their own here, and we're going to hack our way through them while Rikaku is taking down the enemy's infantry elsewhere, and I'm pretty sure the enemy just routed. A lot of these troops, of course, were formerly in service to us, so although it's a shame to be killing them, one upside is that they probably have very low morale in these fights and will just retreat quite easily. So that was the end of that. The siege of Komaki Castle was lifted. We took a few casualties on our side, but the enemy's, of course, going to be much, much greater. We didn't manage to capture Lord Kakeda, which is a shame, and our relationship with Rikaku going up there, but it's already at max, so he is extremely loyal. Next up, I moved over to the east a little bit, where I linked up with two more allied officers to basically dance around the Tokugawa forces for a while, trying to get a favourable engagement and trying to get a fight where not all of the Tokugawa's massive numbers of armies would all be together in one fight. We eventually got this one, fighting both Nisho and Great Lord Tokugawa himself with roughly equal numbers in a very large fight, about 350 or so on either side. I'm going to take my forces onto the right flank, and as I gathered up my cavalry, the enemy detached some of their infantry to come and attack us. This was good news because there's pretty much no way they can beat us here, so they're just sacrificing these infantry. Our Bushi will cut them down, and Nariko are going to try and speed up the process by killing a few of them before they arrive, but basically no hope for these infantry here. But the one way the enemy could be advantaged by this fight, by this sacrifice, is that we're not taking part in the main fight, which is going on that hill in the background there. So our allied forces could be in trouble. They're probably outnumbered and being overwhelmed. I think they're even fighting uphill back there. So I was conscious that we should go over and help them, but as soon as we were free to do so, a fresh wave of enemies appeared, and they appeared right in front of us. We're totally cut off from our allies now, as we can see on the mini-map. Our allies have been backed into the opposite corner of the map. And we're now left to face this wave of enemies, which we're not necessarily prepared to do, since our Onobushi aren't all that strong in mass melee fighting. They are inferior to samurai, unfortunately, but still we're going to put up a formidable amount of resistance. And the main thing helping us here is that the enemy are trying to go for our cavalry, who have moved back behind our lines. So the enemy are now running across the face of the Onobushi. Many of them will be shot by arrows, and as they get into melee, they'll be slightly distracted at first because they're not trying to fight us, they're trying to get through, and only after a moment will they realize they need to fight. So all of our guys will probably get all the first hits in there, nice and easy, and Nariko, of course, are doing a lot of work to cut the enemy down as well. So we quickly overwhelm the enemy, especially as the cavalry get involved in the fight as well. So now finally we can go and join the rest of the battle. But that battle was over by the time we arrived. It seems our allied forces did just about defeat the enemy attacking them. They lost pretty much everything, and yeah, by the time we arrived there was nothing there on the allied side or the enemy side. So that was the end of that, an attrition heavy battle. Only 4 casualties for us, but nearly 50 for our allied troops, and nearly 200 wounded. The enemy side are seeing big losses as well, although their losses were all going to be focused in the kills basically, so their loss is more permanent. We're going to let Lord Nishio go here to improve our reputation with him. Since we are just under neutral, we can take that positive now. So that's that sorted out. Now I wanted to head back to Kyoto now, and here's something that pushes me even further. Tokuda is attacking Ibaraki village, and we need to stop him. My main motivation for going back is actually to go to Kyoto and get my full Hatamoto Guard now that it is prepared. The Hatamoto Guard has tons of gunners and heavy melee troops, which will make Nariko much better at fighting on her own, since our little experiment in trying to support allied officers in battle just doesn't really work because allies just do weird things. So we get this battle against Tokuda started with an outrageous headshot, and now I was just checking out the look of our Hatamoto Guard. We've got a nice thick formation with double lines of heavily armoured troops, the front line with melee weapons, the second line with ranged weapons. Those Hatamoto gunners are basically snipers who will be cutting down the enemy at extreme range, and the Onobushi providing bow support from the very back as our cavalry move to attack the enemy on the flank. In this fight, the enemy had to come up a hill to come towards us, and I wanted to try and flank attack them with the cavalry as they arrived. I ended up attacking too early, plus the enemy turned to attack our cavalry. However, this had pretty much no effect because most of their army had been cut down by ranged fire since they had to move slowly across the terrain before this point. And of course, the attack by our cavalry is nothing that could be easily stopped with just a handful of infantry, so we just crushed them and continued on and didn't take any casualties in the end. Had the opportunity to take Tokuda prisoner, which I'll take. There's no point trying to release him to build our relationship, which is already at -60, so it's so bad that basically there's no hope of ever repairing it, so we'll just take him out of the fight instead. Now next up, I wanted to find some allied officers to come and help me so that I could go and attack some of the Tokugawa castles and just clear up all of our central territory so we could then go and focus on the Tokugawa core. And while looking for officers, we meet none other than Lord Ito of the Shimazu.
Forgive me, your majesty, but I must ask, I have heard your personal forces are led by a man calling himself Ito.
That's right, a fine man indeed. He's... where is he? I think he suddenly had to answer the call of nature.
Unbelievable. Too cowardly to face my enemies, and now too cowardly to face me.
It's not like that, Lord Ito. This is merely a difficult reunion for him, I think.
Such a notion only exists in the minds of the weak. But forget him. I shall travel with you to Owari, as you request. Perhaps my old son will find his courage along the way.
My lord. I am glad you are well, my lord.
I wish I could say the same. My lord, let me say something. I understand that what I did was wrong, that it was foolish, but I want to tell you about everything I have done since, everything I have achieved. You think I am a coward, but I have led charges in the great battles of the era. I have taken bands of men and destroyed entire armies. I have stood beside the Empress and kept her lines holding strong against overwhelming odds. I am not the wretch you imagine, father. Do not call me that. You are not my son. So you wish to tell me that you have talent? Is that all you have? Why did you not apply your incredible skill to the defense of your family, of your home? If you are so apt to win against overwhelming odds, then why did you leave your brother to die for his clan? Because I was weak, father, but no longer. I was not the son you deserved, but now my fame exceeds even yours. Your fame was bought with a debt of shame that is not and cannot be repaid. You think that you can eliminate your disgrace with merit. Madness! If that were possible, how many would make a mockery of honor on the promise of some future redemption? I'm asking you to make an exception for your own son. You no longer serve your clan either. The clan was destroyed. I have no lands. I have no heir. But I have my honor intact. Everything that befell me, befell the Ito, was your fault. How could I forgive you for even the most minor offense, with that being the case? Because honor is more than that. I've done so much that others never— I'll hear nothing else of your stained record of achievements, Kojiro the Ronin. I would be happy to never meet you again. Then I will take my leave, Lord Ito. But I will keep searching for a way to redeem myself in your eyes. Aside from my duties to the Empress, I live only to be your son again. I pray your duties overwhelm you then. Be gone.
We travel back to the battlefront with Lord Ito, where lots of our forces are already working hard against the Tokugawa. We see two battles going on, both of which ones where we have advantages already, but we're just going to step in to really finish this off fast. We want to strike as hard as we can against Tokugawa and really strike as much fear into them as possible by just wiping them off the map wherever they have a presence, and of course pushing on their territory and trying to occupy things. So after that first battle there, which was super easy so I didn't show it, Lord Hatakeyama, the commander in the battle, was actually kind of annoyed that Nariko showed up because it meant the glory wasn't as much going to him. But anyway, because of that I decided to skip the other easy battle and instead move on to the project of going for Jokuji Castle. First though I had to make a slight diversion to take on Lord Honda. This is Tadakatsu Honda, the legendary general of the era, so Nariko comes for a quick one-on-one battle to prove a point, that point being that her forces are undoubtedly superior in every way. We make a massive cavalry attack while our heavy front line resists the enemy assault. All of their skirmishers were exposed here at the back, so now they're just going to be mauled by the cavalry, slashing in amongst them, many of them trying to escape. Of course they can't against cavalry. At the same time, we won the infantry fight and our men now surge forwards to destroy the entire army of that legendary commander. Next up, there was another fight that seemed to be brewing, and I was just buying my time, letting the forces maneuver around a little bit, trying to get it so that I'd have a few reinforcements coming in to help me out. Got something okay in the end, a reasonably fair fight, just over 200 of our troops against 300 of Tokugawa. This is another one of those battles where the AI officers just charged in on their own, so I couldn't really do anything fancy, just had to attack with my own cavalry to try and catch up and have influence before the battle was already over, but we had to charge uphill and through some trees, which basically messed it up entirely, so I charged did virtually no damage, and during that time the Tokugawa fighting downhill against our allies seemed to be making significant gains. I tried to call the cavalry back, realizing they were going to be surrounded and destroyed really quickly. Some of them escaped, others were already too deep into enemy enemy ranks to really get out. So Nariko's coming to try and provide some sort of distraction so that they'll be able to fulfill their orders. And as you can see, I'm just running rings very literally around these groups of enemies, and because they're paying attention to the cavalry rather than me, I'm just getting loads of free attacks. So seeing this, even after the cavalry did manage to leave or were defeated, I just kept going and thought I might as well inflict loads of free damage on the enemy before they pay attention to me, and eventually they do, as we can see, as all these troops start rushing the Nariko, but she is fast, so we can just dodge all of them. So now we'll go back to our own lines, with plenty of Tokugawa troops already assaulting them. They are all over the battlefield, those Tokugawa forces, which for us is actually pretty good, because it means their formation is really broken up. Their numbers aren't going to be concentrated against us. I'm moving my cavalry back behind my lines, because they appear to be the target of the enemy's infantry, so we want to draw them onto our Hatamoto, the superior fighting men who will defeat them in melee. And then with that done, we'll just start slashing our way through them, with Nariko herself being outrageously aggressive, again trying to strike as much fear into the heart of our enemy as possible by just showing absolute contempt for them, slashing down man after man, and building Nariko's legend even further as she demonstrates that she is indeed courage incarnate, just slashing down our enemies, and it is working. The enemy forces are quickly being dispersed, they're losing where they're fighting, and now our guys can just start rushing around the battlefield, cutting down enemies all over the place. At this stage in this battle and in the war, the majority of the Tokugawa forces are gone, so we were able to move right on to the assault of Joguji Castle. The main fight took place in this little street here, where there's a big blob of enemies fighting with my blob of allies. Nariko cheekily sniping an enemy officer who was silhouetted in the distance there, and now coming in with the cavalry pike to exploit the distracted enemies in this melee by just poking into it and cutting down man after man, once again being super aggressive in this campaign, and it's working. These enemies just being cut down. We quickly allow our forces to push forward and start moving up the street. There were loads of enemy ranged troops up on that tower to the left and inside the courtyard. One more enemy coming to join the melee, not a good idea from him. So our troops are going to go off to the left now and try and clear out the courtyard and get rid of all those guys firing down at us. Meanwhile, Nariko is going to lead a few troops down the road where there are more skirmishers shooting our way. One of our Onobushi is cut down before her, she wasn't even facing the enemy. A spearman takes a bullet for Nariko, and she now charges forwards, misses these cavalry pike attacks, very awkward. Now in a dangerous situation, sword fighting in front of ranged troops who could just shoot her at point blank range. Luckily they don't, and allies arrive to join the fray. She cuts down one more enemy, and then looking around, it looks like most of those enemies are now done as well. We can charge on into the centre of the castle, where the enemy are once again going to put up a pretty steadfast defence. They still had lots of troops back here, but those troops cannot do anything against this cavalry pike and against our overwhelming numbers. So once again, Nariko going to be able to just kill loads of enemies from relative safety with these long-range attacks against enemies who won't counterattack because they're distracted and can't because they're too far away. So the body count is racked up very rapidly, and of course the castle is taken, and with very minor casualties on our side. We only took one killed in Nariko's party. Our allies losing something like 25, 26 as it says there. The enemy of course losing nearly 150, and the castle a very nice exchange. We'll give it to one of our angry officers. Hopefully that will help out a little bit. And with so many forces still available to us, there's no reason to stop. Let's keep striking that fear into both Tokugawa and the entire land with a blitzkrieg assault to just try and push this war to an inevitable conclusion. The Tokugawa clan had been biding their time, rebuilding their strength and infiltrating the imperial administration, ready to commence their leader's plan to bring Nariko down and use the power base she had created to unify the land under his own name. But he did not contend for the ferocity of Nariko herself, spirit that spread to her whole army as the battles began. Meanwhile in Kyoto, Nagiko was left as Nariko's new official regent. The news of her heritage had not yet been revealed, so many were puzzled by such a lowly choice. But her calm bearing was far from being objectionable, and all that really mattered was that Masako wasn't playing the court against itself, for now at least. Thank you so much for watching. We are going to hammer home more victories and win our national peace the hard way in the next episode of Nariko's Treasure.